Hi everybody. This is just a test run through. This is not the official thing that I've done for you guys, but I figured I'd do a dry run through for myself before I give it to you guys in class. And so this will be functioning as just a way of me going through it, make sure I got everything for you guys, but it's also in case you guys wanted a copy to take home, like maybe you guys had questions or something or whatever. Of course, you guys can send that to me on Facebook, like questions and stuff. But if you guys want to watch it again, which might even be more beneficial than just asking me, then hopefully I can supply this recording to you guys for that purpose. I'm going to try to cut these videos into hour blocks, and so right now, yeah, basically each one's going to be an hour. I don't know how many parts at this moment this video will be. So yeah, just bear with me. So some of you guys might actually have some Photoshop experience. This is what I'm in right now. I'm in Photoshop right now. And so some of you might have some Photoshop experience. Some of you might not. Some of you might have InDesign experience. Maybe not. Maybe you guys have both. I don't know. So for those of you guys who do have some experience, you'll just have to bear with me, and we'll just get through this tutorial. But otherwise, for those of you who don't, and I'm assuming most of you guys don't know how to do any of this stuff, then this should be great for you guys, and it should be a good introduction just to Photoshop and the Creative Suite in general. A lot of these things that I'll show you, they actually carry on over to a lot of the other programs as well, not just Photoshop, not just InDesign, but you know, a lot of these tools and tricks and stuff, they actually have a play in other programs, because they're all, I mean, all these programs are all designed by the same people, Adobe, and they're meant to work together. And so to make the programs super different from each other, like it wouldn't be as intuitive, you know. And so because of that, they make a lot of the programs similar. They just focus it in different areas of, you know, making products, you know, different things that it creates. Yeah. So, sorry, my phone just rang. 1 minute. Okay, so here we go. I'm just going to start. So what I did here, basically, this is Photoshop. It's already open. If I were to go down and click Photoshop, what you should get is you're going to get a blank thing. Like, this won't be here, this white thing. But what I want you guys to do right away is go here up to File. You guys may not be able to see this on the recording. But I'm going to File. And when I go to File, I'm going to just select New right here. And this is going to allow me to open up a new document. And so from here, when you're setting up your new document, what we're going to do is we're going to set up, I guess it's a master file. That's basically what we're going to do, because we're going to do everything out of this file. We're going to have our original scans that are unedited that we're going to edit in this file. So we're going to have we're going to organize our file for holding our original scans, our edited scans, our page layouts, and you know, I guess any other edits that we want to do. But those are the main three things that we want to hold in this file. The reason why I do this is because it keeps it organized. That's it in a nutshell. But so everything that you need is in one place. And if anything were to go wrong with, like, let's say you accidentally deleted something, like a file, or maybe something got messed up in InDesign, you know exactly what it was, and you can find it very easily in just this one file. You don't have to go hunting through all these many different files. And yeah, I mean, some people, they like working with many files. Me personally, I don't, and I don't see the reason why we should work in one file if we can just work in one and organize it well so that we can always find it, and then we always know where that stuff is because it's in one file. It's all together. It's already together, you know. So yeah, let me just take a sip of my drink. And yeah, good. And so anyway, that's how I like to set it up. So if I'm going to set this up with that in mind, with our master file, if we're going to also do page layouts in this file, then that means that our file also has to be the correct sizing for the final document. And you guys don't know this right now, but for the Photoshop file, it's going to be the spread size. It's not going to be each individual page size. So the paper that we asked you guys to get was 13 by 19, right? And so that's the full size of the paper. Is your book actually going to be 13 by 19? It is not. Well, no, it's not. I don't think Cole will allow that. So it's probably going to be half of 13 by 19, which is going to be 13 by 9.5. And so let's just those are the dimensions that we're going to have to be aware of, 13 by 9.5. But that is not the spread size. If I were to open a book flat out on the table, let's say it's a 13 by 9.5 book. If I open it flat out, it's not going to be 13 by 9.5. Each page will be 13 by 9.5, but the spread together, both pages together spread out, is going to be 13 by 19. And so that's what I'm concerned with here in Photoshop, because we're going to be doing spreads. So just keep that as a mental note. Just keep that in mind, and when you're doing it, that's probably how you want to set it up at home. There are probably other ways you can set that up also, but I think 13 by 19 would be the best way to set it up for here, for right now. So let's set that up. Let's do a 13 by 19 right here. I have it set on inches. I don't know what the default is. The default might be pixels, so just make sure that you switch it away from pixels to inches. Make sure it's on inches. Go to resolution. Go to 300. That's a good printing resolution. Probably the lowest you can go is 150 if your computer's really slow. Don't go anything below 150 because we are expecting to print this. But really, if you're printing, you should be printing at 300, maybe even 350 with certain things. That's about as high as you want to go, though. Otherwise, the file size just gets massive and it starts getting really slow, which is and it doesn't really give you that much more benefit for going above 350. So just keep it anywhere from 300 to 350. That's a good place to go. Me right here, I typically work in 300. If I'm just working up sketches and stuff, I'll go as low as like 150 or 100 or something like that. But and then I'll blow it up later for a final. But yeah, so this is good. White. Just leave all this stuff alone. This should all be default. So yeah, we're just going to go ahead and open up a document. And this is what we want. This is white. And yeah, this is great. So the first thing I want to do with this is I want to lay out let's just get the guide work out of the way, and we're gonna turn it off for now, but let's just get it out of the way for now, just to get ourselves working in that mindset kind of. And so what we're gonna do is the first thing, it looks like it's already been done for me, but we want this zero, this line right here at the zero to line up with this corner right here. And we want this 0 to line up with this corner right here. And so this tells me that right here at that point, it's 0 by 0, you know? And so each one of these represents an inch, okay? And same thing with going down. And so if yours is not looking like that, maybe yours looks messed up. Maybe it looks like this, 0's over here or something like that. Then what you want to do is you would come over here to this box. You click and drag. So you hold it. You hold and drag, and you want to get this crosshairs, the point to meet the corner of the canvas, okay? Oops, I just shifted it. So let's try that again. So I'm going to get this point. I'm going to shift it right here to the canvas. I'm going to let go, and then it's going to tell me it's 0, 0. So what that's going to do is it's going to, you know, make sure that we have the correct sizing. I mean, we just input it, and Photoshop's not going to make that mistake. But what it's going to do is it's going to allow us to place our guidelines on the canvas accurately. And so what I want here is I want a halfway mark. So right now this is 13 by 19. So halfway of 19 is 9.5. And so if I go up here, you know, all I did was I clicked on, you can click anywhere on this ruler. And if I click and hold, it will bring this line across. And so I want to put this line, and if you look right up here, you can see where the measurement is. And so you want it right there at the 9.5 mark, right? Because that's halfway of this page. If you leave it there, it's going to make this blue line, and all it is a guideline. This guideline, all it's doing is showing where the halfway point is in this document. And it's not actually physically on the document. You want to envision this as maybe like a string on a rack. Maybe this ruler is your rack, and there's a string being tied from one end of the rack to the other over your canvas, and it's showing you where the guide is. I mean, it's nothing. It's not on the canvas. It doesn't affect. If I get this brush, I can go right under it and everything. It's not on the canvas. It's just a guideline. And so I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna go down. No, actually, I'm not. I'm gonna get another one. Right now, I'm gonna create my gutter. My gutter for the book. The gutter is where the spine is and where all the paper, signatures. They're called signatures. The packets of paper that are all laced together to make a book. They're all laced together at the spine. And there's a little dead zone in the middle of the book where you cannot read anything because everything is sewn together and glued right at that point. And so you have to take that into account when you're making a book, because if I were to, let's say I had some pictures right here in the center, it's not going to show up in the book because the book, all this part of the book has been put into the spine, right? So what I want to do is I want to know where that spine is. And you know, it's not really possible to tell 100% exactly where the spine is going to be. But what you can do is give yourself some margin for error to kind of fix that. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go about 1/2 inch and 1/4 over on this side of the line, okay? And then I'm going to give myself, oh wait, is that right? I'm going to give myself an inch right here. That's a full inch. So I'm going to go right here, 1/2 inch and 1/4. And then I'm going to give myself another 1/2 inch and 1/4. And so what it's going to do is it's going to give me 1.5 inches. So with 1.5 inches of space, it should be enough. If you want to be safe, you know, just go the extra mile and give yourself an extra 1/4 on both sides, and then you know that'll be that'll be plenty of space. So yeah, that should work. The next thing I'm going to do is, so this is the middle part. That's the most important part to make sure you nail down with enough space. I mean, that's the part where you need the most space. You need the most space here. But so now I'm going to give myself some room on the top also. So from the 0 mark, you know, I might go down like 1/2 inch, you know, something like that. You don't need that much space. I mean, the printers, they're pretty accurate, really. And for them to really be off by 1/2 inch, it's probably an error on your part rather than the printer's part if you're going to be off by like 1/2 inch. So I would go into printer settings if something wrong is going on with that. So yeah, 1/2 inch should be plenty to give yourself on here. And then for the sides, you know, it kind of depends on what project I'm working on. If I'm working on a project and, you know, it would look better with kind of like a framing device around the whole page or something like that, then yeah, I might give myself an extra set of lines that might be also 1/2 inch. You can do this if you want. There's really no need on this. Actually, a lot of books and a lot of magazines, they'll bleed out to the edges right here on the sides, and you know, they'll keep it within the top and the bottom edges, and for sure the gutter, you know. But yeah, I mean, that's your call on that. You can if you want. If you want some guides there, that's cool. But yeah, I'm not going to do any guides for this one. Just for this demo. 'Cause I don't really see a need for it, and it's just a demo anyways. So anyways, so yeah, I got my guidelines up, and so that's working great for us. It looks like it's pretty correct, and so now we don't need them at this time. I like to get them out of the way in the very beginning because it just starts the whole, you know, thinking orderly for me. I don't know, maybe that's just a thing with me. So anyway, I'm going to go over here to view. And so this view, I know you guys can't see all these different tabs up here at the top of my video because of my recording software. But just go to view, and this is what you're going to see. I mean, I know you guys can see this whole window. And so just go to here to show. and then just go down over here to guides, and see how it's checked. Just click that, and it's going to be unchecked, and so then the guides will go away. They're still there. Okay, if I were to go over here back to view and then show, and I go guides, they're still right there. They're just turned off at the moment. That's all they are. So yeah, we're just going to turn them off for now, because there's no need, and they're just hogging space on the canvas for no reason at the moment. Later on, we will need them. We're going to need them as like some kind of guideline, but for right now, we're not going to need them. So yeah, that's all working great right now. So that's basically how I want you to set up your, I guess, your initial document. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to start placing some stuff in the document. And so actually, before I do that, no, yeah, let's just place this stuff in the document. So I'm going to place this stuff in the document. So I'm going to go over here to File and then Place. So sorry, maybe that went too fast. Your File. So I'm clicking File, and I'm going down here to Place. And so Place, I'm just placing stuff. This should all be fine. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to get a whole bunch of stuff right now. I think. Actually, maybe not. I'm going to just place these two things for the sake of this demo. In class, I'm going to have a lot more stuff to show you guys, but I'm probably only going to be doing maybe a few of these as well. Thinking about it right now. I know that in my other file, in class, I'll show you guys in a minute. I'm going to show you this other file. But just for the sake of this demo, I'm doing it in this file. Because I'm going from start to finish. And I'll be doing start to finish with you guys in the class also. But anyways, just for this demo, I'm going to do these two. I'm going to show you how to do this sketch, basically. And I'm going to show you guys the color wheel. And so let's just click on this. I'm just going to say place. And what it's going to do is just going to set it right there in the center of the canvas at the size of the picture. I think Photoshop's reading it as pixels. And Photoshop knows the conversion from inches to pixels, and so it knows how big to put it. But let's say I were to go to the internet and download some image that's like 300 pixels by 72 pixels or something, so something really thin, right? It's probably going to show up really small. So just be aware of that. You want to take really nice big photos of your stuff. Just grab a drink. So if you guys are doing that, make sure you're scanning this stuff at 300 dpi. This is a scan of a drawing I did. I don't know. I think it was a year and a half ago now. So this is kind of old drawing, but I thought it'd be good for the demo because it has some value in there. It's got some line work in there, and it's kind of rough. And the scan actually came out very light. Like it's very light compared to what it is in the original. It's a lot darker normally. I think the scan just like washed out the light from it. So anyway, this is what it looks like. I don't know if you saw what I did up there, but there's like a little check sign right here. All it's saying is, do you want to place it or do you not? I think it's like an X or like a slash circle thing and a check. Just push the check and it's going to place your image right here on the canvas. I'm sorry I didn't say that, but yeah, just push the check mark. But yeah, so if you look on over here, here's the name of the image. It says image 016. And it's going to have this little box right here. And basically this box right here with the little paper right here and the little dark square in there, what it means is that it's a rasterized, I guess it's a photo. It's like a shape, photo shape or something like that. I don't know the official name. I forgot the official name. But basically, it's something that you can't really work on right now. That's what you need to know. Like if I have this brush tool and I try to come over here, it's got a little circle with a slash through it. It means I can't work on it. If I try to click on it, it says okay, there we go. That's the name, Smart Object. And so it has to be rasterized. And so if I were to do it that way, I could push OK and it'll rasterize it for me. But another way to do the same thing is just come on over here and right-click it, right-click it, and then just say rasterize layer. That's probably how you're going to do it at home. The other way you can do it, or not the other way, but what you guys might want to do is, so let me place my other file in here. I'm going to go over to this color wheel. And, okay, here's that check mark right there. And so I'm just going to say place it. Bam. Okay. And if you noticed, it was fuzzy a minute ago. That's okay. It's just a preview when they're saying to place it. When you actually push the check mark, then Photoshop will actually place the image, and then it'll get really clear, or it'll get as clear as it can possible, depending on how good a photo or image it is, and so that's why I got all clear. But anyway, so now I got two of these things that need to be rasterized, and so what I can do is I can click on this image, and then I can hold the shift key, and I can click on this image, and what shift will do while I'm holding it is from one point to another. So if I had like all these, like let's say I had a bunch of these layers, and I do shift click to 3, it will select all the layers I clicked on plus the layers in between the ones I clicked on. Does that make sense? So if I click on 1 and then 4, holding shift, it will click 1, 2, 3, 4. Now if I try to shift click again onto the color wheel, it's going to go from the 1 to the color wheel. It's going to continue all of them. So I mean the layer 1 is the one that will always stay. You can always keep on clicking. So I'm just holding the shift key and keep clicking. Does that make sense? Hopefully that all makes sense. I know I'm asking questions in a video, kind of like dumb, but yeah. So anyway, let's get rid of these layers because I don't need them. All I did was select them all, and I click and hold and drag and bring them to that trash can down there. That's going to delete the layer for me. So anyway, I'm going to select all these. I'm going to right click it, and then if I say rasterize, it's going to rasterize all the layers at the same time. So the reason why I showed you this way instead of doing each one individually is because of that. If you were to bring in all of your things that need rasterizing at the same time, you can just do it all in one go, and you don't have to keep right-clicking, rasterize, right-click, rasterize, right-click, And so this makes it a lot faster. And that's how I want you guys to separate this anyways. So I want you guys to bring in all your images, everything that you need to edit. Anything that needs editing, then bring it in. If possible, I'm going to talk about file organization in a minute, is try to bring them in, like before you bring them in, label them in the different sections that they belong. So like let's say you have 10 photos or 10 document your process things, whether it be scans of sketches, pictures of you working on it, the actual assignment, the brief that Cole gave you, slides from the slideshow from that lecture, any of those things, right? Let's say you have like 10 images for this one assignment. I don't know which assignment, maybe color wheel assignment, right? Let's say you have 10 images that will go in the color wheel section of your book, okay? Go label them, color wheel 1, color wheel 2, color wheel 3, okay? Label them first so that you don't have this mess, this name right here, right? So if I like highlight and then I guess double click it, it's gonna say color wheel. So go label them first. You can label them before you put them into Photoshop, or you can label them in Photoshop. But what I'm saying is try to get your images all organized first, and then put them in there and upload them in sections so that they're all together already, kind of in this layers bar. And then it's going to make organizing these things a lot easier, because the next thing I want you to do is get a folder. So when all of this stuff is here, when you upload all of your images, I want you to put a folder right there. And then so I want you to name this group, and then maybe this is the folder for color wheels, right? So let's name it color wheel. So now I got this folder, it's called color wheel. All I have to do is click, hold, and drag up, and you're going to see it highlight around. See, if I put it here, it's going to go in between these two files. If I put it here, it's going to go in between those two files. If I put it here, see how it highlights around that whole box? So it's going to go in the file. And then you can see this little indentation. It's like a paragraph almost. It just went in. So the other way I can know is if I close the file, it's going to show me the color wheel or blah, 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 right? So you get it. So now it's in that file. And so the other thing is if I turn off that file, it turns off the whole thing. I don't have to just turn this off. I can turn this off, which turns off everything in that folder. So yeah, I want all the color wheel document your process photos in the color wheel folder. Does that make sense? It should be all together so it's nice and organized. And then let's say you have problems down the road in InDesign. Let's say you have problems down the road when you're trying to make these spreads, or maybe you accidentally cropped an image or something. You have everything together, okay? And so actually I want you to name these things, you know, color wheel, and this photo right now that you're looking at for the color wheel is unedited. And so I'm going to say it's unedited. And so this means it's a raw scan. It's straight from the scanner, no nothing. I didn't touch it or anything. It's just straight from the scanner. And so you want to keep your raws away from your edited ones just for clarity's sake. Maybe you edit an image and, you know, 90% of the time I don't have to go back to the unedited images. But for those times that I do, I'm glad I did organize it because it was really easy to find. And that's the only reason. I didn't have to open up any other files and look for it. It's all right here in Photoshop ready for me to go. So anyway, that's what I'm going to do. And then for this, you know, I'd make its own group. So this is a whole nother different section in the book. And just, you know, just because it's mine, I'm going to call it, you know, ship. And so I'm going to do the same thing. Click and hold, drag, put it in the file. It's ready to go. For now, I'm going to, let's work on the ship first. So I'm going to turn that off. And so what this would be an example for, because obviously, you know, you guys didn't do this kind of stuff for the class, but editing it is the same exact thing as editing your sketches that you did for your assignments when you were asked to bring out ideas. So what you would do is you'd get your notebook, you'd scan it. I did this on copy paper. This is what I did on copy paper. This is 11 by 17 copy paper. I just scanned it just like you guys would do, and it's drawing, you know. And so what I'm going to do is, with this image, is I'm going to make a copy of it. So it's going to be Command J, and so that made a copy of this layer. All I did, see if I undo that, Command Z, if I undo that real quick, is all I did was, there's another way to copy is if I click and hold and drag the layer I want to copy, I can bring it on down here to the new layer button. So this is new layer. So if I click and hold drag, it makes a copy. It's the same exact thing as Command J. So Command J, the other way is like you just select the layer that you want and you just put Command J and then bam, it makes a copy. So anyway, I'm going to Command J it first, and then the next thing I'm going to do, oops, let me unedited there. Okay, cool. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this out of my box. So I'm just going to click and hold and drag, and I will put it above the color wheel. So now it's not in any of these folders. You know, I can turn off this whole folder. It's still there because this one's up there. And so this one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in, I guess, the ship section. Hopefully this isn't getting too complicated. It may sound complicated at first, but once you get the hold of this method, I mean, this is the method I use for all of my laying out for my projects, because to me it's very, it makes everything simpler for me. Because I mean, first of all, I understand how it worked. I came up with this method, but you know, it keeps everything organized. And I mainly do this method when I'm doing books. And so whenever I do a book, this is how I do my book, because then it keeps it organized. I mean, the worst thing you want to do is mess up your files for a book. Now, your books, they're not that complicated. I mean, you're only doing 30 pages, and you know, the most you could probably have is maybe like, you know, 8 images on a page, you know, so it's really not that bad. But you know, some of the books I've made, they'll be like over 200, 250 pages, you know, and each page will have, you know, at least 5 images. And so that starts to rack up, you know, how many images you've got in that book, plus text, plus graphics, you know, laying it all out. I mean, it all adds up. And so trying to keep track of all that, you know, all that content in all these different files and stuff, to me it doesn't make sense. Like, why would I do that? So that's why I came up with this method to get all my stuff organized. And so I have a Photoshop file for each section of the book, and then in each Photoshop file I have all these different folders, and that's what I'm teaching you guys. So anyway, I mean, that's a rough explanation why I might be getting semi-complicated. I'm not getting that complicated really. So anyway, I have this ship, and this is the ship unedited, so I'm not going to use this file anymore, this part. This is just if I were to mess this thing up right here, then I have a backup, the original copy right there. That's the only reason why I have that. So these are good to go now. It's this one I'm going to be worrying about now. So this one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come on up here to Image and then Adjustments, and I'm going to open up the levels. Now some people like curves more than levels. I mean, if you're a curves person and you like to edit your images in curves, then go right ahead. If you're a levels person, just go levels. Me, I'm a levels guy. I'm not as much the curves guy. But I mean, you can do whatever you want. If you don't know any of them, I would suggest levels, because I mean, yeah, I'm semi-biased because that's mainly all I use. I don't use curves really that often, but it's almost the same thing as curves. Curves, you have a little bit more control. It's a little bit more, I guess, advanced, but it's easy to mess it up. Like, it's really easy to wreck your picture. Levels is a lot simpler, and it's way easier to use, especially if you are new to all of this Photoshop stuff, right? So just go to levels. It's a lot simpler. What you're gonna have is you're gonna have these different slides. You want to keep all this stuff where they are, presets, default. You know, you don't want to mess with this or the channels. RGB is what we're working in right now, so you don't want to work with any of that right now. This is these are different values in your image, and so what it's going to do is it's going to affect your image very drastically. And so these are all like the midtones, I think these are like highlights and stuff, and these are like your really darks, which I don't have really that many in this image because it scanned really light. So and then this is your overall output. If I were to bring that all the way, this is your blacks going into white. You know, these are your whites going into darkness. So this is your overall for the image, or that's kind of how I think of it, the overall of the image. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tweak these things so that this thing looks a lot better. Right now it's a little washed out. And so what I typically do is I'll usually start with the midtones first, and I get it to like a happy point. You know, I get it to a point where I kind of like it. And then I might start bringing in some of those darks, you know, a little bit. And then probably the last thing I do is I work with the lights. You know, because the lights are actually what washes out the image, like, big time, you know. I mean, yeah, the darks can make it get ugly, but I think it takes longer for the darks to make it look ugly than it does for the whites do. So I typically feel like I have more control if I mess with midtones first, then the darks, then the lights. Kind of makes sense. So yeah, I'm just going to mess with this a little bit, kind of get it to where I like it. And, you know, there really is no right answer for this per se. I mean, it's all relative and it's all general. Like, I could go right here and, like, we know that's wrong, right? So I mean, you know, use some common sense. Don't be dumb about it. You know, don't be like doing this stuff. You know. But yeah, let's just, you know, I'm starting to get happy with this how it is right here. I'm starting to like this right here. You know, I think this is plenty just to get us going. I mean, if this were an actual image I'm going to present, I wouldn't stop here. There's actually a lot of other stuff I do to it first. But this is plenty. This is definitely plenty for, I mean, it's definitely at a you know, presentable state for the most part. Value-wise. I'm not talking about all these dirty edges and stuff. That's what we're going to clean up right now. So, okay, so we got that. Our image is looking good. We just got to clean it up now because I don't like that dirt. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here. All these things are selection tools. Like, all these different tools in here, they're all selection tools. Even this one, some people might argue, you know, but these are all selection tools, and these are all different ways to select parts of your image to manipulate them in Photoshop. And so we're going to select the rectangular marquee tool right now. That's the name of the tool. You could just push M for it, I think. I think you can push M for it. I don't think I changed that yet. So yeah, you can push M. And then what it's going to do is it's going to make a box of basically marching ants. And so with everything within this marching box of ants, it will select. And everything outside, it did not select. The reason why we can tell is this is the only part that's enclosed. The outside is not enclosed. If I were to push select inverse, now the outside is enclosed because we have another pair of marching ants. So this wall and this wall is enclosing this space. This space is no longer enclosed. Does that make sense? Hopefully it does. So anyway, I want to select this part of the image only. So let me just deselect that right now. I'm going to make a nicer selection. So I think I'm going to select from about right there to maybe there. I'm not worried about getting everything in image because if you look at how I drew this rectangle, it's kind of skimpy. This one is like right here, and this one's like way up here or something like that. I mean, it's kind of slanted anyway. So it doesn't really matter. I mean, it's a sketch anyway, so it doesn't really matter that much. So I'm just going to do that. And what I could do, if I really want to maintain every part of the process, then what I could do is right-click and say copy. Right? I could do that. Which I think I might do actually. And then what I'm going to do next is I just turn this layer off right here, the one below it, because right now I have two copies. But one of them has a border around it, this ugly border, and then the other one doesn't. So if I just turn that one off, bam, it looks way cleaner already. Look at that. And I would say this one is basically done. I mean, it's basically done and it's ready to go. I mean, there are other things you could do. One thing that I might do is with the selection of the image, what I might do on a separate layer. So what you can do, you can start getting creative with your selections. Is what I did was I created a selection off of this layer. So all I did was I hold Command and I click the picture. If I click here, I don't think it's going to do anything. No, it's not going to do anything. It just selects it as an extra. But if I click the picture, it will select everything, the perimeter of everything in that layer, all the content in that layer. And so the only content in that layer is this rectangle of my drawing. And so it's going to select a border around that drawing. And so then the next thing I'm going to do is on another layer, I can do whatever I want in this layer, even though I selected from a different layer. Does that make sense? I mean, it's kind of cool. So, I mean, just to do it, I mean, I'm just going to select inverse. So it's going to select everything that was not originally selected. And what I'll just do is I'm just going to quickly just give it a frame. And it's going to make it look a lot better. And so to get these straight lines, what I'm doing is I'm holding the Shift key, and then I'm just drawing. And so if I were to pick a point, and I pick another point holding Shift, it'll automatically draw a line to that point. Or if you just hold the Shift key and you just start drawing, it's only going to work at 90-degree angles. I can go up or I can go horizontally. That's all I can do. And so that's how I'm making these straight lines along this border. But with only this part selected, not the inside of this window, it will only draw within, that window. Does that make sense? It's only going to draw in the selected area. So that's why I had to have it selected first, so that I don't get anything on my drawing. And that's a way nicer border. I think it looks a little bit better than it did before. Yeah. It looks a little bit more finished, right? Like, bam, it looks a little bit more finished. I mean, yeah, it's a little crappy border, but it's still just a sketch, so who cares, It looks better than it does without a border, so whatever. Get a drink real quick. So yeah, that's how I would edit that image. The next thing is, recap. This is what you would do for all your different sketches. You can also do pictures this way. I mean, you can do everything this way. Just levels and then try to go at it. You can do everything that way. But this method works specifically best on sketches, just levels. If I were to do a different image, which I will be showing you the color wheel, how I would tackle that one, because the color wheel, you can't just do just levels on this. It's not going to work. But yeah. I mean, different images, they have different strategies to tackle them, to make them look the best that they can. Which, surprisingly not everyone understands, but that's kind of what makes the difference between a professional and amateur. Like, the professional will know different ways of how to tackle different images to make it look at its best, when an amateur, they would probably just do the same way that they were taught, probably just levels, and they would hope that works, So for this one, because it's all these different colors, and this is what we want to showcase. This one we're gonna have to treat a little differently. If I were to just do it, because I mean the main thing that's making this image look bad is, first of all, I mean let's take a look at this. It's kind of slanted. You see this? We don't want this, you know. And it's supposed to be on a square format, and you know, looking at it, you know, at first glance, yeah, people would say this is square, but then they start looking at these little spaces in here, right? And they'd be like, what the fuck is that, you know? And so like, and then the other thing we're looking at is like, this is all black and this is not. And then we got some you know, reflected light from the color wheel and stuff like that up here. Like this is kind of orange in here, like this orange black, you know. And we got some blue black over here, and we got, I mean, it's just kind of all over the place, all over the map, you know. And so we want to make it look better. It looks like a photo, actually. I think it is a photo. I don't think this one is actually a scan. I think it actually is a photo. I'm looking at how the light hits it. I'm looking at all this pixelation. And you don't get this much on a scan typically. You can, but typically you don't. So I think this is actually a photo from, you know, probably someone's phone. Phones, yeah, it's probably like a phone. But yeah, so this one, I mean, we can try. Let's try the levels. All I did was push Command L, and it brings up the levels panel. And so, I mean, we can try, but I mean, look, if I'm doing this, it's affecting. Look at this purple, man. Look at that purple. Look at these greens. I mean, they're just dying. The colors are dying. You know, I mean, the levels, it's not working really well. And really, most of the problems, they lie in the black, right? I mean, if we look at this, let's push cancel. I mean, most of the problems I just listed, like not square, look at these white spaces, look at these colored blacks. I mean, most of the problem, I mean, this is white, this is black. I mean, the white light hitting it, right? Different colors bleeding off into the black. I mean, most of these problems lie in the black anyways. I mean, the color is not that bad. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take a little bit more sophisticated approach, and we're going to try to fix this image. And I mean, when I say fix, we're going to mainly fix the blacks, and that's going to make a huge difference, I think. So we're going to take a little bit more sophisticated approach. Let's see. We're going to go select. So this is in the select bar, and so in the select, I'm going to go over here to color range. And when I'm clicking color range, I'm making sure I have this layer selected, my color wheel layer. Actually, I'm sorry guys, before I do that, let me quickly make a new layer. I want to do Command J just like I did with the ship. I'm going to bring this above everything else. I'm going to make a new group. I'm going to put this in the group. I'm going to name this one color wheel. This is the unedited, I mean, this is the, you know, this is going to be edited. This is the real one. This is for real. This one's the unedited one, so we don't need that one. So, sorry guys, let me just do that real quick. And so now, this is the one I'm working on. And so this is the selected. I'm going to come over here to select. The select up here in the top options tab thing. And then I'm going to go color range. And so in the color range, what I'm going to do is, this is what I'm looking for. You see, right now I'm going to select this black, and you'll see the image change a little bit. And so you want that as white as possible, because it's going to get it all nice and selected, right? That's what I'm selecting. And so with this fuzziness bar right now set at 106, you can change this, right? And so the white, I think it's the white, is what is getting selected. And so, I mean, look, you don't want to go all the way max, because now look, I mean, you got some, like, is that purple? Or I think it's purple that's getting you know, left out a little bit. It's not completely left out because it's gray, but I mean, you want to get it as close to black and white as possible. You don't want no gray in there, right? And so let's move this on down, and we still want it sharp, because if I go too far down, then all this stuff starts creeping up, right? So we want a nice balance in there. So whatever you think is best, but I'm gonna say best is around, for this particular image, not everybody's image, this particular image, I'm going to say it's around there. So not that much higher than wherever we were, 108 or something like that. I don't know where we were, but I'm going to push OK. Let's look at that. It gave me a nice selection. Look at that. It's basically cheating. I didn't have to go over here and select every little thing, you know. So that worked out great. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do what should I do? I'm going to do levels on this. So it's all selected. I'm going to go Command L, or you can go to Image Adjustments, Levels. And because all the black is selected, what I'm going to do is let's up that black a bit. Bam! It's already looking way better. And I'm going to change some of these midtones out a little bit. If you notice what that's doing, it's affecting the light that was hitting on the board. And so I'm canceling those midtones out. You know, I'm just canceling them out, and so it's going to look way better. And if you notice, the color is untouched. You know, because it's selected all around that. So let's just push OK. And I'm going to deselect. Bam. And it's already looking a lot better. If I were to look at what was there before, it was this. And then if I look at there now, bam. It's looking a lot cleaner already. This already is a huge improvement to compared to what was there before. So yeah, I mean that's already a huge improvement. The next thing I'm going to do is I don't like these spaces here. You know, I want it all black. I don't like all this stuff. And so I mean, one way of fixing that is I want it square. So I just come over here to the square thing, and if I hold Shift, I think it makes a perfect square. I'm pretty sure it makes it yeah. If I look over here, right above my crosshairs, right here over in the right, there's that little window. It says width and height, and it is exactly the same. So that's a perfect square. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a perfect square. I'm assuming that's what we want, right? I mean, that's what we were assigned to do. And then on top of that, oops. There we go. I got the selection back. So I'm just going to make a perfect square. What I can do here is I can just layer via copy. If I turn the bottom one off, bam. This one's off. You see, this one had all the stuff. This is the copy of the top, but the copy was only within the selection of the square. So this one's a square, this one's not. And so I just turn off the one that's not. It's like, bam. Now it's nice and clean. Look at that. So, and I would say it's basically done. Yes, there are ways to fix, you know, some of this stuff down here, and if you really wanted to, I mean, yeah, like I said, there are ways to do it, but it really does not matter. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to document your process. Yeah, you want to show it off really well. This is doing it. You know, this is doing it already. To go in there and try to noodle everything else, well, to be honest, you know, you should have painted the original thing better. You know, I wouldn't have that stuff on my color wheel if I painted it for real, you know. The only thing... No, I guess it's working. It's fine. So, yeah, I would say just leave it right here. I mean, it's working well. Yeah. So, I mean, I can't vouch that this process, you know, the select color range process will work for everyone. Sometimes people have really elaborate designs, or they like completely mess up the scan or the photo, or both, or for whatever reason. And you know, color range is it's a really great tool, but it can be finicky at times. So that's the only thing to look out for. Now, fuzziness will help control some of that finickiness, like I was showing. Like sometimes it'll be like way down here, and it's like, what's wrong with it? You know, what's going on? That's not what I mean. Like it's not working. Like no matter where I click, it's like it's only giving me like certain things right. It's never a whole black and white thing, and so you know you just gotta fix it with the fuzziness. So I mean, this method should work for everyone. I mean, most of your guys' designs should be all nice and big and bold, but like this one's pretty bold. I mean, there's nothing that interesting happening with it. It's just like, you know, some triangles popping out of, what are these, like octagons or something like that, you know, hexagons. So I mean, it's not that crazy, so it should work. That's a really great tool for getting things that are a little bit more bold. I wouldn't do this on, you know, certain paintings or something like that, or certain, I wouldn't do it on like a picture of like a junkyard or something like that. Those might be a little bit too complicated, if you get what I mean. So anyway, yeah, that's that for the whole editing process. And let me see if I can figure out how to stop this recording for this mark in the video. Like,